Two Debbies. On yacht, hello. Yep. Overnight hit. I took my target off, got a little extra. I got 95 cents out of it, so boosted up the potential there a little bit. Hi, Pete, Sharita, Sandra, Deborah. We've got three Debbies in the house. Hi, Patrick, Bob, Harold. How are you? Hey, Barry. Getting a little bit of a slide off of the big pop. The Qs were up about 0.75% down to about zero point 0.4. SPY moving actually back toward break even right now. So getting a little bit of a slide off that morning pop. We'll see we get the 5-minute charts looking pretty ugly right now, but obviously still positive on the day so far. Um, yeah, obviously Bitcoin is the one that I'm watching just to see if we got a totally false move and we're gonna, kind of shake it back down to that 115 or one even 110. I don't think so. I think, the pop we got is probably more likely a sign of where Bitcoin's actually going over the next couple of weeks than anything else. Like I said, take a couple more cracks at it here, risk defined trades. I don't mind doing that and taking a couple stabs because I'm not stacking like open-ended risk or anything. If you're doing that with Bitcoin, I would be very careful. That's not the way that I'm doing it, but it'll be interesting to see how we're looking by just the end of the week, just a couple more days. Bitcoin could be at 105 or it could be at 130. That's the fun thing about trading it. But we'll wait and see. I still actually do like some of the catch-up trades. Even they might even be better now with a little bit of a sell-off here. Let's see what Mara's at today. Actually, only down about 0.4% today, but I like Mara to potentially pop back above $20. Let's see what MSCR is. Oh, MSCR is not playing around. It's still stayed green on the day and could get back above 460 there. So actually a good point of kind of that lagging thing that we were talking about. Bitcoin, fell 4% or whatever, and the kind of related assets are still trying to catch up to the initial move, not even showing red yet. But Bitcoin stays red for 2 more days. I guarantee you, MSTR and Mara start showing more red. So I kind of seeing that in effect right now. Oh yeah, well I'd say you're looking pretty good there, Joseph. Joseph's got an income machine play that's
Wow.
over $100 clear
That's
of the price.
25% a buffer there, Joseph.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You're in pretty good shape on that one. But yeah, I mean, well, it's been an interesting week. We had a nail biter on two-way options, Graham.
Yeah.
Because the way that I do that often is that I'll sneak an extra weekend into the trade specifically for that reason, so that even if I'm only holding it 10 days, I'll have 2 weekends in that 10-day period because oftentimes we'll get a little bit bigger move, and the price pretty much the same as if you held a 10 days that only had one weekend in between. So it's a little bit of a hack baked into that.
Nice.
And the weekend did get us out of it. It was like 15 cents above our line in the sand there to close for a full profit. So a little bit of a nail biter on that one, but I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. And weekend options did it again, right?
Yeah, that one really wasn't too much of a nail biter. That hit around 1 or 2 p.m. It was pretty much green the entire day. So weekend options still undefeated.
What is that, nine
I
in a row?
think we're 10 in a row, aren't we? I
Wow.
didn't. Maybe including the live one we did ahead of time. I think we are 10. Let me see. Yeah, we are 10. But let me tell Jared needs to update my exit on the other one.
Love it. Joseph hit the two-way. Nice. Kayleen, I'll be doing a deep dive of that here next week, actually. It does look to me, just based off what's happening right now, markets want to gap fill to the downside. We're actually almost there. We had an awesome pop last night. The A lot of people this morning might be thinking it was CPI that had gave us that pop, but it really wasn't. It was Nvidia's approval to start selling chips to China, which they estimate could be as big as a 50% revenue boost for the stock. Now I don't know if it's going to be that big, but it's definitely going to be a nice boost for them. But if we're looking at the broad market right now, most stocks are actually fading, heading lower for that gap fill. So Nvidia looks really great right now. It's up 3.5%, but the majority of the market's kind of just hanging in there. That boost did apply to AMD as well. You were right, Ted. Actually, let me just look at I'm curious at AVGO. AVGO is up 1.5. AMD's up 5.9. We're going to see some of those. We talk about a catch-up trade. Some of those other names, like I'm curious. Micron's not up that much, but AMD's up big. Let's see. SMH is a semiconductor sector, and it's up 2%. That's one of our hot sheet picks. That was a hot sheet pick last week. Seasonally, a very, very strong sector in July. I shouldn't say sector, but industry or whatever you call it, since it's more of a sector within a sector. But that's looking up really nice. Bob, one of the biggest problems I have is knowing when to get out of a trade for a profit. We're going to do a lesson on that sometime, especially on spreads. Bob, actually, I believe your timing is pretty perfect because Nate, you're going to do that Thursday, right?
Yep.
So make sure, Bob, that you're here Thursday. Nate's going to cover that. Late but awake.
Morning,
Good morning. Hey, Sydney.
morning, Sydney.
But yeah, we'll see what happens here this morning as we got to pop to new highs, which is awesome. Got to love some new highs. See if they can stick. All right, well, we'll go ahead and dive in and get started with the normal Tuesday morning outlook. I'll look at the markets a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, seeing what the internals are saying and where we think things could go. First off, starting off with the telegram of the week, we had that Nvidia trade here in the opening playbook. Last week, I believe, we set a 50% auto target on that. Hit it pretty fast right there. I haven't got another one open as well, letting it ride. But pretty awesome trade there. Other telegram of the week, Bitcoin. Has anyone taken advantage of Bitcoin on this recent run up? Now, we know Bitcoin's fading a little bit today, but it's still way above where it was when we talked about it last week. I hope you guys have. We've got a trade open right now in the perfect Bitcoin portfolio that's up 170%. Closes out this Friday. Looks like it should be a full profit here unless Bitcoin absolutely gets drilled. I mean, it's got to fall 3, 4, 5% in the next couple of days for us to, even come close to jeopardizing that profit. John did. Well, John, if you're the only one, it was worth it. Hopefully some others did too. I know we had someone yesterday share that they made 250% on it. And then for my other telegram of the week, I normally don't do 3, normally just 1, but we're having a lot of fun. The 60-minute income trade, which happens every single morning, looking to hit our 50% profit target by noon. Well, it's officially going to be published with the company after going through the approval process. Going to have trades for you guys each and every day. And I'm going to give you guys the indicator too. Now I'm going to drop a link here in the chat. This is a pre-release page. So if you go ahead and click that link in the chat and sign up now, you'll be able to get to the pre-release event that's happening this coming Sunday. I believe it's 6 or 7 p.m. Just in time for the new trade coming out Monday morning. So click that link in the chat if you want to get in on the 60-minute action officially going forward, where I send out the exact entry alerts, our profit target, exit alerts, everything you need to know in real time.
Graham, can you confirm? Do we know what our official day is that we're doing the release?
Sunday night.
Sunday. Okay. I know after we talked about getting it approved and putting a bow on everything that's going to be in there, we talked about I couldn't remember which day we said we would officially. So they're going to get the entire week of opportunities next week.
That's right. First time ever. That's what we're doing Sunday night. They originally wanted to do it Monday. I said no. We got to get it in Sunday night so we can start hot.
That's right. Okay, I remember now. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully you guys are paying attention to that. Graham's been doing this for a while. We went through the process, but Sunday night this time around so that you can get the entire week, because it's going to be first thing in the morning essentially. So you get the entire week of trading those 60-minute income opportunities next week. Wow, that's going to be coming up fast. That's exciting.
It's going to be fun. We're at 86% win rate so far in 2025. Funny enough, Nate, it's amazing when things like this line up. But funny enough, I went to the Option Omega account, back tested it all the way back to the inception of SPX, which is 2013. So about 12 years of data. And guess what the win rate was?
But
86.
yeah, yeah.
So we're hitting it
Uh,
right on the nail with it, loving it, and it should be a lot of fun. That link is there in the chat if you guys want it on the early release. Now, for the morning market update, again, the big news was last night with Nvidia now resuming sales to China, which is a big, big catalyst for the stock. There was a lot of uncertainty there, whether or not they would be able to sell with China, and it looks like they're all in the clear, and that's why Nvidia is screaming this morning, up 4%, all-time highs. Only 4 trillion. I think it's the only $4 trillion company, unless Microsoft has made
yep.
it, but it was the first to get there, and it's a total beast right now. Oop, my screen froze. Can you see me?
I still see your Nvidia chart.
Well, that's weird. I can't see my mouse. All right, let me.
I see your mouse, which is funny. Here,
Okay,
you just move your mouse, and I'll just tell you the whole time where your mouse is, and
yeah,
we'll,
let me do.
we can go through. It'll be fun.
I'm not sure what's going on with my screen. I think sometimes I gotta refresh them here. Is my screen still sharing or no?
No, you're not sharing anymore.
All right. Sorry about that. All right, now it's back. Now we're back. Sometimes because the Mac runs on display link, um, sometimes the display link freezes up. All right, we're back. Nvidia looking red hot. You can see where it opened today. Nice big juicy run for this stock, and it's dragging up SMH and some of the other semiconductor stocks as well. For the main overall markets, and I'll go ahead and update this. This was us at the open, but since then we've faded a bit, and let me show you what I mean by that. So here was the market open, and here's where we are now. So you can just see that QQQ is looking strong, but SPY's lost about half the gains so far at the open. IWM's now negative on the day. And there's a big reason for that, in my opinion, because outside of the Nvidia news, well, CPI came in this morning. And while the month over month report was better than expected, it shows red. It really should show green because this is a good thing for us. The year over year report was just slightly, ever so slightly higher than the forecast at 2.7% on the annual inflation rate. Now, what's interesting, if you look at the possibilities for rate cuts here in July when the Fed meets again, well, earlier this month, or I guess I should say about 4 weeks ago, there was about a 25% chance that they were going to cut rates. Now there's a 2% chance. So I think that the small caps, and this is why we didn't want to get in early on small caps. Let's wait for the confirmation. But they, losing steam this morning. Bonds same with if you're trading TLT or TMF. We just want to wait for confirmation there because this is so unpredictable. And just like that, in a blink of an eye, we're back to no rate cuts. Tomorrow we have the PPI report coming out, which is a similar inflation report for us, and then typical jobless claims, retail sales reports to get us going on Thursday morning. Next week we have Powell speaking Tuesday morning before the market opens, which again, I don't think he's going to say anything out of the ordinary. But other than that, a pretty dull week for economic news. But we do have earnings kicking up, and I'll talk about that in a moment. For the charts of the week, I've got a couple for you to take a look at right now. First one is my beloved, dearly beloved Apple, which has been a pretty terrible stock, to be frank, over the last little while here. But if you look at Apple on a weekly chart, it just bounced off the 200-week moving average for the first time in almost a decade. Now, this has happened 3 times since 2013. Well, now this is the fourth. And every time, let's see what happens. 2013, hit that 200-week moving average, went to make new highs. 2016, same thing, new highs. 2018, same thing, really ripped there. So here we are in 2025, looking like what could be a good buying opportunity just from a technical standpoint. Of course, we've got other breakout indicators that are confirming that right now. So definitely want to be at least looking at Apple. Have it on your watch list if you're not trading it already. Here I'm just going to hit this one again one more time. The Bitcoin chart overlaid with US or with, total money supply, M2 liquidity. If you fast forward that chart, that green line by 3 months, it oftentimes gives us a good prediction model of where Bitcoin could go next. This blue arrow here is what we've seen so far in July. And as you can see, taking higher with the money supply, and there's still room to go. Of course, we've been trading that as well and looking good so far on that trade with Bitcoin bouncing up a little bit here since the overnight quick cool off for Bitcoin. Another interesting fact here, and we just talked about small caps. I'm not long small caps yet, but we are seeing that hedge fund short positioning is now the lowest it's been in 4 years. So hedge funds are starting to prepare for what could be a real mega rally in the small caps as well. They're taking off their shorts. They don't want to bet against it right now, especially with all the speculation of rate cuts. So again, I'm not buying small caps at this second. I'm going to wait for a confirmation, but it's interesting to see that the smart money is kind of looking at the same thing right now. And I lost my chat. Let me open that back up. All right. So I won't probably respond to many chats at this moment. But for the market overview, last class, I told you I would love to see a healthy cool off and then higher. And we kind of got that healthy cool off, just a sideways choppy range for the last week, week and a half. Markets really didn't gain at all until today. Just that sideways chop. And that was enough for us to get the RSI, the 10-day RSI on the S&P back below that 70 level. We've talked about this a couple of times over the last week or two, that when it spikes above 70, it's not bad. That's actually really good news. It means we have a strong market. However, we typically do get a bit of a cool off period. So you can see our cool off period here over the last week, week and a half, and the RSI trending down at the same time, gearing us up for what could be another run higher. So where do we go from here? Well, if we're looking at the CNN's Fear and Greed Index, which just looks at market internals and then rates it, it's not an opinion index, just run some averages. Right now, we're still in the extreme greed territory, which isn't bad. A lot of the times we'll see, this lever hang out here in the extreme greed territory when markets are really good and strong, which I think they are right now. So nothing to be worried about there at the moment. With the put to call ratio, which tells us how bullish or bearish are options traders, we are at a very healthy rate right now. We're at 0.84, which if I draw my lines here, that's pretty much right in the middle of what I like to see. So here's kind of our overextended to the upside line. Let me draw a red. If you see this, typically you want to be booking some profits. And if you see it above here, typically you want to start buying stocks. So we're getting right towards the middle of that, even with markets at all-time highs this morning, which we love to see. That means that there's still gas in the tank to keep going higher. Another cool thing to see here is that the percentage of stocks above their 50-day moving average is just chugging along healthy. And the reason I like this right now is because we're not seeing it down here below 50%, which would just pretty much mean that it's just the big companies going higher. We're starting to see a lot of stocks moving higher. 70% of stocks here are now looking healthy, like in a bull trend. So there's a lot of good opportunities right now. And the same can be said about stocks trading above the 200-day moving average. And I'm going to say the same thing this week as I said last week. We are looking really healthy here. We're growing. This number is increasing. However, this is still below the average for a bull market. Typically, we'd see about a 65% or more stocks above their 200-day moving average. So that still means there's a good ample opportunity here to get some of those catch-up trades on stocks like Apple or some of the others that we talk about in here. So yes, good healthy number, looks very strong, but there's still a lot of opportunity right now. Seasonally speaking, looking at the markets, July again, typically a good summer month for us. August and September, so here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have to be more selective. Maybe put on a short here or there or just buy some puts, which we'll walk through here in the class, but really trim down to just find the strongest horse each and every week. Now, if we break it down to a bi-weekly outlook, second half of July looks really good overall, right about in line with the average here. So again, still some good upside here, and I'll give you my full prediction here in about 5 slides after we get through the seasonals. Presidential seasonality, trending right in line again, just a little more extreme on each side. The highs are a bit higher, the lows are a bit lower, and now we're back to the highs being a bit higher. But you can see here, second half of July, very bullish for both of these lines. The first one being all presidential cycles, and the second one being a new party in office. Both typically have a very good July, so we'll look to capitalize on that. So for my upcoming prediction, my market analysis, well, it's kind of twofold. There's one prediction, but there's one thing here. I personally would love to see the market cool off a bit more before going higher. However, if we're looking at the data, taking our emotions out of it and just looking at the numbers and what the market's telling us, everything's pointing towards a higher market here over the next week or two. So that is what I'm expecting, and that is my prediction upcoming for us. Even though it'd be great to buy another pullback. Those are so fun, in my opinion, getting to load up on a little bit more speculative positions and really leverage the gains. I think we're going to keep going higher from here. So what's going to move the markets? What's going to make or break this? Well, it's going to be most likely earnings. Now that we know rate cuts are probably pretty much 97% out of the equation for the month, now we're looking towards earnings. And this morning, I haven't had a chance to look. Nate, did you have a chance to look at these yet? We had earnings. Let me just pull up my chart here. If I can get my thinkorswim to move. Oops, not what I meant to do. All right, let me grab my thinkorswim. We had earnings on JP Morgan, Citi, Wells Fargo, bank stocks. Let's see how they're doing today. JP Morgan flat. I think I told you guys that a lot of these stocks trend flat. Citi up. What was Wells Fargo was the last one. Wells Fargo down. Let's just see how the financial sector is looking this morning. Slightly down this morning coming off earnings. Bank earnings aren't that huge of a deal typically unless there's some crazy sort of outlier catalyst that's happening. But we do have Netflix, which is a FANG stock coming up on Thursday. It's a mega cap stock that has been a really, really great stock, but that's going to be more of a market mover. And then next week and here over the next few weeks, we're going to have a lot of big names coming up. So this is, in my opinion, what's going to be the big spark to the markets, or we could see it completely, negate the data right now and send us lower. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that over the coming days. From a sector breakdown, sector view here, seasonally again, July is strong across all sectors. I've told you guys this for weeks now. These are my favorite sectors for the month. We've been making good money on them. Communication services, infotech, financials, industrials, typically very strong sectors for July. And when I break it down on relative strength, last class I told you technology, industrials, communications, and financials were my favorite sectors. And if we look at the notable shifts, there was really not much. My top four are still the top four. Just a little shift here in the bottom feeders. So I'm staying the course here with my favorite sectors to play the rest of this month of July, most likely. Now, if we're diving into the nitty gritty here, I'm going to give you guys a few trades, and then I've got to turn it over to Nate to give you guys a real cool trade here. Let's jump into the Apex top signal of the week. And it's really great that we're doing this today, actually, in my opinion, because I think Nate, jokingly, seems like every time we make a big announcement about Bitcoin bursting to all-time highs, which we've called over and over again, it does fade the next day. And we're getting that right now with Bitcoin. So right now would be a really good time to start looking at IBIT, which is our Bitcoin ETF. Right now we have an Apex entry on this, which is our weekly price action indicator. Basically, we want to see a certain expansion on that candle week over week and a break above the previous week's highs, and we got that this last week on IBIT. And so our profit target here is 71.91, and our stop price here is 53.68. Now, if you guys want to trade on it, let me know in the chat. I'll give you guys a trade on IBIT. And while you're doing that, let me give you another one. This is one that we nailed just the other month on Microsoft. We have another Apex entry on Microsoft, and this one, I think I gave it to you a few weeks back too, and it's just been chugging higher and higher, looking really good right now. I actually have a trade on Microsoft currently open. I think it's up 30-40% right now, just using one of my basic debit spreads with an auto target built in. We're not to the profit target yet, though. There's still some room for upside here, about 4% for Microsoft with a profit target price of 520 and a stop. We're way above the stop now, but 426. So if you want to try and squeeze the last 4% here out of Microsoft, well, this is still available for you guys. Just keep in mind, earnings are coming up for this ticker. So whether you want to hold through earnings or not, that's up to you. But this is still looking good right now. All right, let's get an IBIT trade on the table here. I'm going to pull up the opening playbook trade doc so you guys can have this to review. Today's date's July 15th. Apex entry IBIT. Now keep in mind, Bitcoin did just smoke the all-time highs the other day. So we are seeing it slightly pull back from those highs today. You can see, look at this gap, this run up here. However, we still have a bullish entry here on Apex. So our profit target on Apex is 71.91. And then when I pull up my handy dandy Apex indicator cheat sheet, which I'll do here as I move that off my screen, we can see that Bitcoin, let me just unhighlight this. That was a couple weeks back. Bitcoin typically hits a target in about 3 weeks' time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to give us a full month. I'm going to give us the August monthly expiration here on Bitcoin. And I'm not even going to go to the profit target. I'm going to just go to 70 most likely. Let me pull up the options prices and take a look for you guys. Squeeze this down here. All right. Well, got to get those off the screen. That's the 60-minute income strategy firing away right now. Oops. Let me go down to the 15th of August. This is going to give us 4 weeks. So if you guys want to know which direction the 60-minute income trade is going, you just saw it 3 times. But on Bitcoin, this is going to be an opportunity to get close to 200% return on investment. We're giving it 4 weeks to get almost to the profit target, not even all the way to the profit target. If you want to trade the profit target, just shift it further out of the money. This one's like a 300% return on investment. But what I'm going to do here on IBIT is I'm going to trade the 15th of August. I'm going to buy the 69 call. This is out of the money, so we do need Bitcoin to move. And I'm going to sell the 70 call for the 15th of August. Right now, this is trading for a net debit of 37 cents. So let me post this here in the chat. Then I'll walk you through it. Meta's down. Yeah, Meta is down today. Again, we're seeing a lot of stocks trending a little bit lower, even with Nvidia going higher. On IBIT, let me pull up the calculator for you guys so you can see how to work it. It's at 35 cents now. Love that. So here in the members area for opening playbook, scroll down to our wrap order and elite trade calculator. And then we're just going to punch in the details. This is a debit spread. So we're buying the 69 call. We're selling the 70 call. Let's call it one contract for now. And the price was 0.37. I think I just saw it at 35. So let's just say 0.37. If Bitcoin gets to this target over the next 4 weeks, our ROI potential here is 170% return on investment. Now let's keep in mind, that's about a 6% move on Bitcoin. Maybe not even 6%. What is it? Let me get you the exact number. 70, I think we're at about 67 right now. A 4.5% move on Bitcoin, and we make 170% return on investment. That's about, what, 25 times leverage here by using this debit spread, this out of the money spread, which gives us a lot of potential. And again, we don't have to risk very much to do it, which is why I love doing it. Nate does too. So here, I'm going to ship this one off. I'm going to get 3 of them, put $100 in. Of course, Thinkorswim will do the calculations for you. I'm risking $108 to turn it into 300 with a profit of 192. Filled right away at 36. And now just to give you a visual, over the next 4 weeks, 8/15 is my date. If Bitcoin is above my crosshairs here, right there, if you see where my crosshairs are, I'm going to make 170% return on investment. So it's not that crazy of a trade. As you can see, the current trajectory of Bitcoin, it should be well past that if this thing keeps climbing towards our 150 kind of mile marker price for Bitcoin. So that one is there in the books. Chad, 192 profit target. No, not a 192 profit target. The most this spread will be worth is $1. So we're paying 37 cents to enter. Profit target would be a dollar at expiration. Or if you want to set an early profit target, you can do that too. For example, if you wanted to say, let's go ahead and take profits at 100%. I got in for 36 cents. I would just multiply that by 2, and you can set a good to cancel order at 72 cents. So if Bitcoin hits that price, or if the spread hits that price at any point over the next 4 weeks, it'll automatically fill you, and you'll be out with 100% return on investment. Art got 2 at 36 cents. Not approved for spreads. If you want a basic one, yeah, we can take a look at a basic one. However, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of that. I would look at the September expiration. It gives you a little more time, and then I would just go one strike here out of the money. 67 strike, it's $500 a pop instead of $36 a pop. but that's what I would look for. 19th of September, 67 strike call, and you need Bitcoin to get to about $72 by expiration to break even. So if it hits it a month early, as Apex is projecting, you should get, pretty close to double your money, I would
Graham, real
assume.
quick, with some napkin math, what would that call have to do to generate 190%, or I forget exactly what your number was there?
Yeah, let's not do napkin math. Napkin math. Let's go look at it actually. So if you go here in Thinkorswim, I'm in the options chain, right? You guys can all see this. If you come right up here, there's a cool little feature in Thinkorswim called Theo price. Do you guys see that? What that stands for is theoretical price. In other words, what would the option be worth if a certain profit target is hit by a certain date? So let's go ahead and click there. And now I've got my Theo price tool ready to rock and roll. So let's say by 8:15, which is what I'm going for on the out of the money option there. We want to see Bitcoin at actually, let me just do this. Let's say it gains $3. I want to get a little above that. So this would be in line with the spread we just took. Get this. If we are right over the next 4 weeks, Bitcoin gains about, what is that, 5% from here. This option would go from $500 to $550. Anyone here can do quick math. That's a 10% return on investment. You get a 10% return on investment with the calls, or you can get 170% return on investment with that spread I just gave you. I don't know about you, but the thought of 17 times the payout sounds pretty appealing to me, especially considering it's about 1/15 the risk per contract. Now, let's say Bitcoin does go crazy. Let's say it goes to $75 here on the underlying IBIT. Your option would be up about, it would go from $500 to $9. Quick math, that's about 80% return on investment. Again, you tell me, would you rather need Bitcoin to gain 12% to make 80%, or would you rather it gain 5% to make 170%? This is why I'm such a big proponent of not going out and buying call options willy-nilly, because you need a really big move to make a good return on investment versus with these spreads that we're doing here, these debit spreads, you need a very small move for a much larger return. So that's my take there. Hopefully that made sense. Where do you find Theo price? If you go to the options chain, there should be something here that has one of these selected for you, probably Delta or whatever. Let's see if it's got a name for it. I don't know. But if you go here, options chain, should be this fourth one in. Click there. Click the one that says Theo price. And then here's where you have your handy dandy built-in calculator in Thinkorswim where you set the date and the move. And then if you look at the columns Theo price, you can see what that theoretical price would be and compare it to what it's currently trading at. Awesome. Hopefully that spiel made sense. Did that make sense to you guys on why I'm such a big proponent of trading that, in my opinion, very basic spread instead of buying the calls? All right, getting some yeses. Awesome. All right. So that's my free trade on Bitcoin today using the IBIT ETF, no different than trading SPY or any other ticker out there. The bonus here is Microsoft. Do what you will with this. We've got a trade on right now, so I'm not going to add another. And as a bonus, Nate and I are conflicted on this one. I really like Google right now because I'm very bullish on Gemini and how it's integrating with all other things Google. I love Google's new AI browser. I think they are really killing it right now, and the stock price isn't showing it just yet. In fact, Google is still not at all-time highs. Let me go ahead and pull up a chart of Google and see where we're at. So if you look at Google, they have earnings coming up, but still 183. So it's still about $20, $30 off all-time, $30 off all-time highs. Now $24. So that's a little over 10% opportunity here in the stock, in my opinion. And it just so happens to be a seasonal date where it's gone up every single year for the last 10 years from July 15th over the next 18 days. Typically during that time, it gains almost 3% on the underlying stock. So if you wanted to trade that, I would then look for an expiration. I'd probably go 2 weeks out here because I think they have earnings 7/23. Okay, they have earnings on the 23rd, so we might not be able to trade this to the 25th. although you could do it, but the prices are going to hold pretty strong going into earnings because the market makers price that in. So actually, I'm not going to give you a trade on Google here, but if you want to, remind me next week. Maybe we can trade some earnings on it instead and go out of the money and have a little fun with speculation here on Google. And the earnings date is the 23rd of Tuesday? 21, 22, no, it's a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Remind me Wednesday next week, and we can have some fun with it.
Is it post market for sure though?
It's post market, yeah. All the big ones normally are. After Market Central, yes. Cool. Sound fair? Yeah, the Theo mark is really cool. Jason, oops, chat's going away from me. Graham, do you have an explanation document somewhere that explains how we can make exponential returns with a fraction of the risk by using spreads? I really just have my wrap order training and my elite training slide decks, both of which should be in the Opening Playbook members portal for you guys, but I'm sure we could get a simple doc typed up as well because it really is shocking, mind-blowing, and I think if you want to trade, if you like trading actively, you absolutely need to know it and take advantage of them. Every beginner starts with basic calls and puts when you're trading options. And then the people who are really making money at the next level, in my opinion, know how to use these spreads at the right time to go for those outsized returns on small moves. Awesome. Cool. Well, Nate, now that we've kind of set the stage there, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us some action here in the markets this morning.
Yeah, I mean, well, speaking of that, that example of what a regular option can do versus trading it with a different structure, to me, is the whole idea behind when I talk about jump trades. You guys will often hear me say that. That's what I'm talking about, is simply that potential. So I'm going to walk you through that today. Obviously, we had CPI that hit today, and to be honest, I don't really care that much about CPI. But I do think we're going to need some catalysts here to get the market going, and the market's going to find catalysts in all different kinds of places. I also think the move that we've seen in Bitcoin just over the last week shows us how much risk on potential there is right now in the markets. Sometimes it's like the market's chopping sideways, things feel a little bit fearful, and what you tend to see is like reasons for people to be bearish and back off the market. I think we saw some of that in March leading up to the big drop. Right now, I think it's kind of the opposite. I think people are looking for reasons to be optimistic. We've seen extreme greed, and then we've seen Bitcoin rip. So I do think the markets are going to get moving very soon. We cracked all-time highs. We've had the cool off that Graham predicted, and I expect us to get a catalyst here that moves us back into action. And while I love trading defensively in most of my strategies, most of my strategies get behind the current price, create as many scenarios to win. I actually think right now is an opportunity to be very aggressive with the right approach. Let me just highlight with the right approach here, because Graham just touched on it. This is really what matters, in my opinion, the right approach. So not going out there, buying calls, doubling down, saying, hey, I think the market's going up, so I'm going to risk everything that I've made over the last couple of months of good trading and blow it all up. That's not what I'm talking about. Hopefully, just talking about trade size yesterday gave you some indication of that as well. I'm not talking about loading up on margin and swinging for the fences. I'm talking about picking your spots and targeting big wins on smaller than expected moves, just like Graham was talking about there, right? You needed a 5% move to make 150%, or you needed a 12% move to make 50%. Those aren't his exact numbers. I just ballparked them. But that kind of idea of a smaller than expected move to get a bigger than expected return. And so that's what I do in my most aggressive directional strategy that's called jump trades. I'll talk you through it today. I'm not looking for, a directional pick where I'm going to double down and swing for the fences with, big chunks of capital. I'm using risk-defined opportunities to get in and then look for a less than expected move to still go for triple-digit wins. So if you want to position yourself for, 150%, 180%, 200%, 250%, this is the strategy I would recommend. This is the trade structure I would recommend. By the way, starts with a brand new trade that I'm going to be issuing before the end of the week. I'm thinking that Friday is when we'll get our next opportunity. I think we'll have a good weekly directional signal by then, and then we'll set up some of these trades targeting, 180%, 200%, like the one that we're going to do this Friday. even on a relatively small move in the stock, which to me is the critical part that you can't skip over. If you guys are trying to predict huge moves in stocks, I think you're playing with fire. It's really hard to do that with any kind of consistent basis. So that's what I'm talking about. You guys know the drill. Profits and performance, not typical. I'm not going to make any future claims. This is for my live trading over the last year or so. It's about a 60% win rate, kind of like Graham was talking about the profit factor and the ROI. We're going for a lower win rate compared to something defensive, but for much bigger wins. You can see there the average win 166% based on this strategy on real trades. Obviously, can't guarantee specific future results. All that good stuff still applies. Now, it might sound wild to make 200% on a small move in the stock, but hopefully what you'll learn and what Graham just touched on will shake up how you usually think about options and open your eyes to a new way to target these outsized gains each and every week, meaning whatever stock you like, whatever opportunity you like, or if you want to follow me and use my specific ones, you're going to get opportunities each and every week because you don't need some rare, massive move to target 150 or 200%. 190% on Tesla, 233% on MSTR, even a crazy 1,500% on SMCI. Now, let me be clear. What you're going to see today, what I'm going to talk about, these are unusually large returns. These are the biggest trades I go for. The average winner is 166%, way bigger than most of my strategies. But every example you're going to see today are from real money trades placed by me in my own account. They're not hypothetical entries, no curve fitted back tests. If you ask me, that only feels right because the magnitude of jump trades is that we're going for these big wins. So it only seems fair to show you real results that actually happened in real time, not could have, would have, should have. Oh, we could have made 200% if we looked back and found Nvidia. Obviously, that's not fair. We want to talk about real opportunities. So you're going to see all the data, every winner, every loser, so you can decide for yourself, hey, do you want to trade with this more aggressive approach, targeting 100 to 200% this very week? And I firmly believe once you see all the live trade examples, the incredible nearly 3 profit factor, and how 5K into each of these could have been more than a lawyer's salary over the last year. Yep, about 200K in the last year. Well, I think you'll fall in love with this structure of going for those big wins, just like I have over the last year. So welcome to Jump Trades. As you guys know, my name is Nate Tucci. You probably recognize me from doing the 10K to 50K challenge or the overnight options guy, which I'm sure most of you recognize me from. Thanks for all my, I saw a whole bunch of people already in the chat. Overnight options, ding, ding, ding. Give me a yes in the chat if you hit your overnight options winner today. We've got so many testimonials from that. It's been a lot of fun over the last couple of months trading overnight options. You can see as they've piled in here. One of these is pretty wild. Someone up 60K year to date on overnight options. But if you follow me, you probably already know my goal isn't to be a talking head on mainstream TV. I'm not trying to get on Kramer and create my own park or pack or whatever he's making next. That's not what I want to do with my life. You're a lot more